spectator is a lesser beholder, but don't let that fool you. It does not mean they aren't powerful. Like the beholder, a spectator comes from another plane of existence. They are typically summoned to our plane through a ritual that requires 4 eye stalks from a beholder. It is usually summoned to guard a place or a treasure. It will allow no one to even come close to what it guards. Even scarier than a spectator that guards is a spectator with no purpose. For when a spectator has no purpose, it becomes mad. Let's continue with our beholder builds. This is the spectator. Let's go crazy. For these beholders, you won't need the skull. We'll be rolling up some aluminum and using that as the skull. This also helps keep the miniature as light as possible. Roll a thin cylinder shape for the jaw and use hot glue to attach it to the aluminum ball. I'm working on the base for 2 beholders, a spectator and a regular beholder. I'll be finishing the other beholder on the next video. Make a small indentation for the eye with a screwdriver. Don't go too deep. Choose a proper size bead and hot glue it right in. Use aluminum to cover the back of the jaw. To make sure it's 100% sealed, use hot glue. I like to primer the inside of the mouth black before I put the teeth in. It will make this a lot easier to paint later on. I found that if I try to do this later on, I just end up struggling, so it's easier to get it out of the way right now. And like I said, do it on both if you're working on both beholders. Get your toothpicks ready. I like to pre-cut a bunch of these before I work on any project. It's just nice to have them ready to go, and it doesn't take that long to prep a good amount. I have already chosen the beads that I will be using for the other small eyes, so I have those also ready to go. When working on the teeth, make sure to only work on about 2 or 3 at a time. This way, you aren't rushing to get the teeth in before the glue dries or cools. One thing to keep in mind here is that eventually we will be adding a tongue to this guy. This is the spectator, and when gluing the teeth, make sure there is room for the tongue. Also, when putting in the teeth, don't just put them on in a line. Make them either smiling or frowning. Give them a little bit of attitude or personality. Alright, let's get our hands dirty with that clay. Make sure it's nice and soft before you work on it, and when you're applying it on the top part, make sure you don't put a lot of pressure and apply as much pressure on the bottom side. You want to make sure that it is attached there, it's strong, and that it doesn't fall off later on. By not blending the clay on the top part with the aluminum, it'll just make a better contrast against the eye when you paint all of this. On this part, keep in mind that we're not gonna make this look like lips. I'm going more for a gum look. It's always good to keep about 2 or 3 reference pictures from when you're working on anything, just to get some inspiration and to get some ideas on how you want some of the textures to look. Go ahead and basically do the same thing to that top eyelid. From this point, I'll only be working for the techniques on the spectator, so if you're working on both beholders, just start working on this one. There's different techniques that I'll use for the bigger beholder. On the spectator, I'm adding chunks of clay on the top here so that I can have something to stick the horns into. And for the horns, go ahead and use the end of the toothpicks. After the clay dries, add a little bit of glue to the horns. This will add strength to it. When you do so, make sure you get into all of the gaps. If you feel safer using baking soda and crazy glue, go ahead and do so. It is the safest option. With the clay here, I want to layer armor type of feel for the top of the head. Now, there's maybe other better ways to do it without using clay, but I'm sticking to clay just for the sake of this project. I added more clay to any of the parts that were already dried, just so that I can add texture to them. This is where you can really make the piece yours, so add whatever detail you'd like to add. I'm still going for that armor look, so I'm splitting it and segmenting it, and eventually I'm gonna work it the way I want it to look. I'm also adding extra horns here, you know, just for the fun of it. I'm basically sketching out the design at the moment, and eventually I'll define the segmented parts a little bit more. This is where I really start to try to make it look like it's layered, like the plates are sitting on top of each other. After the clay dried, I went back again and just made sure that everything's glued well and that nothing falls out unexpectedly. Working on the arms is pretty simple. Just roll up some aluminum and twist until you can't. Make 4 of those. Let's go on to crafting those eyeballs. Choose your preferred bead size. Glue it using that magic dust, baking soda, and crazy glue. I like to make sure it sticks on, so I add as much as I can without making it look too bulky. Also, make sure to build it up layer by layer. The tongue is also pretty easy to make. Use wax paper or parchment paper and add some hot glue to it. Then just let it cool down. I don't want to keep saying baking soda and crazy glue, so from now on, for convenience, I'll just call it magic dust. And we're gonna be using a lot of it, especially to shape the tongue the way you want it. Just bend it and add magic dust to the underside. Don't glue it yet though. You want to glue it once you're done with the painting, so you paint it all separate. We're almost there. Make sure to add enough magic dust to the arms. Make sure they have bonded nice and strong. Again, you want to layer that magic dust. Take your time here. One of the best things about magic dust is that it doesn't take that long for it to dry. Let's not forget about that bottom lip, so let's put some clay on that. We only want the top part to look like gums. There was something oddly satisfying about working on this next detail. I don't know what it was, but I mean, on my next build I'm definitely gonna emphasize this a lot more. I really like how the segmented part looks on the bottom lip. For the craft stick holding the Spectator, make sure you use a screwdriver or something to make the hole first. Add a little bit of hot glue to the end of the craft stick and skewer him. After, add magic dust to further secure it. Alright, we finally made it to the end, and as you can see, I still haven't glued that tongue. I'm gonna wait until I paint everything to do so. Thank you everyone for watching this episode of Franky D Crafter. If you want to learn more about the craft or what I do, hit that like and subscribe button. You can also come visit me on Patreon, where you can become an exclusive patron of mine and reap from the perks and benefits I offer as a token of my appreciation for your support. With your support, I'll be able to produce more awesome crafting videos like this one and much more. All the links are in the description below. Thank you very much again, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Next time, I think we'll be doing this guy. See you on the next one.